We've done it twice before in this system, and we could always do it again. This is the system of African nightcrawlers, which is now 196 days of age, in which we composted a couple chunks of cotton beach towel. And this is a piece of the exact same towel that was used for that cotton composting test. We did it twice. The first time it took over 40 days, and in that case I felt like I didn't really run the test as good as I could. Second time, which actually technically ended only during the last check-in when we couldn't find any sign of it. At that point, it had been 22 days since we had thrown the towel in there amongst the foods given to the worms. And when you come in and you see 22 days later, no sign of the towel, you really kind of wonder, could it possibly have been under 20 days? Was it, how long did it really take is the question that remains when you don't actually get to observe the last of it vanish, when you just come back and it's all gone. But whatever, I just figured I would mention that we've got the option. Do we do it? I don't know. I'm going to keep this just within reach in case it inspires me to maybe do it again. And I mean, at 196 days of age, for a system that's been fed 16 times so far, it feels like we could go quite a way. I mean, some of the systems that I've harvested recently, I believe that they went up into the mid-20s, 25, 26 or so feedings in other systems that I've recently harvested. And those systems usually get harvested, close to a year in age. Like, I believe that the system that I'm presently trying to get the worms to depopulate and migrate out of is maybe a month away from hitting a year old. So this definitely has a plasticky look and feel to it. Don't know how that got in there. That too. Okay, well, sometimes it's a little bit of a mystery to me how certain things make their way into my systems. There too. What on earth could be this large and sneak in somehow? But whatever, doesn't matter so much. So when we were last in here, it was 14 days ago, 2 weeks, and at that time we felt like the material just wasn't quite damp enough. So I came in here with my squirt bottle, and after we finished feeding, and I believe we dampened the feeding zone too, the little supplementary spray of my spray bottle, then we also went ahead and we soaked the material on both sides too. And the reason for that was that we went excavating through the sides of the system and we found so few worms. But here, it is kind of nice to dig in and find at least one or two worms hanging out there. I mean, part of the rationale that tries to explain that away is that, hey, you always feed down the middle. Maybe there's just more interest in the middle due to the, presence of food there. But I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. I've just got so many systems where the worms just go out anywhere and everywhere, and finding worms out on the outer edge is usually not too surprising. But I think just what did seem to stand out to me last time was that the outer edges did seem a little bit, a little bit sparse on the worm occupation. And I thought that perhaps a little moisture could help, cozy up the material out there so that the worms would feel more comfortable being there. But whatever. I would have to say that if I had to just compare now to what I saw last time, at least out on the edges, things seem a little bit better today. And I did selectively choose the foods for today based on what appeared to me. Where did that piece go? That was just in my hand. This had like a little look to it, like it could be more of that. I don't know, for it to be this difficult to break, it feels so plasticky. It's coming out. But what is this stuff? So, whatever. I think I was about to mention what the menu looks like today. We've got not only cantaloupe melon rinds and watermelon rinds, we've also got some actual chunks of the watermelon here. Nice juicy meal. More cantaloupe rinds here, and a piece of burnt toast. And that's going to be their feeding. I'm wondering if we're going to need to supplement moisture in here today. It sort of feels like it would not be necessary. I mean, things look and feel really good down here in the feeding zone, but it's kind of like what I would like to see in more portions of the bin. I'd like to see more worm activity elsewhere in the system. And it could be, I don't know, could it be the food explanation, or could it even be bedding explanation? I mean, these being African night crawlers, they are the type of worm that really does appreciate their bedding. And maybe the reason they like huddling near the center is because there's just not enough bedding type materials anywhere else, because that's just where it always ends up getting applied as part of the feeding. So I don't know. I think the old adage of you can never go too overboard on bedding is one we should probably abide by in today's feeding. So I'm going to grab my water bottle. Yeah, you know, this is definitely a system where the worms, for some reason, like being down the middle. I mean, I wonder if we could just use that to our advantage, since there seems to be high traffic down the middle. Maybe that would be a good, you know what, let's just go for it. Cotton composting test number 3. More of the same, very much more of the same, with the same exact towel. And I don't know if we've done this in the past. I wonder if we, in the past, possibly put the towel in dry, causing it to become more of a sponge, sucking in moisture from surrounding materials and remaining dry for a while, possibly making worms a little bit standoffish about bothering with this stuff while it was still kind of dry. So maybe this is yet another little something that'll help the cotton get to the finish line, is putting it in the way we just did with a good bit of moisture. And I mean, let's see, what have we done in the past? In the past, we've kind of put in food, folded some of it over, put in more food, folded more of it over, kind of going in layers with food in between each layer, making me wonder if perhaps that could have been beneficial. So maybe we'll try it again. I had this funny feeling like it might have been a good thing, but here again, I'm also wondering if perhaps moistening what appears to be a pretty dry substance that's going in as part of their feeding would also be beneficial, rather than just sitting dry there for who knows how long before it finally dampens to the point where worms can make use of it. The squirt bottle probably could use a couple pumps, but I kind of like the slow, steady, controlled way in which it's coming out right now, so I think we're going to stick with it. And then in can come even more of the yummy foods that we bought for them. But let's not forget, we still want to fold over one more time. So let's leave a little bit of yummy melon to become sort of like the cherry on top. That layer I didn't think required any moisturizing or dampening, because I mean, this stuff is pretty much all water if you think about it, for the most part. And it should be interesting to see what it becomes of this towel. Every time we do the towel test, we try to think of ways we can optimize, and I think just by dampening, that might be something I've never even thought to do, or maybe it has happened. I can't recall at this point how it's happened, but you know what, maybe my worm chow. There again, if I see portions of exposed towel here that possibly could get a little bit more worm action if it had some worm chow touching it, then maybe that'll help too. I don't know. Just an idea. And as far as the outer edges, I was kind of wondering, do we try to do something to drive worm traffic to the outer edges, or do we just let it ride? I mean, last time we actively sprayed, we put moisture in there. We didn't do a lot, but maybe we could just do a little bit more of that here today. Why not? If it did appear to us like it was possibly a little bit of an improvement from the previous time, that there were now worms hanging out on that side, perhaps it was because of the added moisture we included last time. I see no harm in following that same approach. And as you saw, I didn't really put too much in there, but still perhaps just enough to keep the worms comfortable there. Although, there again, in terms of optimizing stuff in the bin that would drive worm traffic to the towel, moistening other sections of the bin to make them comfortable for some of the worms to hang out in could be working against us a little bit. But whatever, these are all very informal tests we do here. It's more in the realm of fun and games, if you ask me. None of my tests are all that formal. So that's yet another fun check-in with these African nightcrawlers doing so good now. Approaching 200 days of age. And I don't even recall at this point. Yeah, I think I did. I showed the info board. Well, just in case I forgot. We're flashing it again. And I even thought about plastic coverings. I mean, perhaps plastic coverings would cause even more retention of the system's moisture, so I wouldn't feel the need to supplement. I don't know. Either way is fine. It's not a lot of effort to just spray a little bit in there. If it's what the worms need, I'm happy to do it. All right, everyone, that's it for the check-in. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. If you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.